Hey everybody. So we're going to look at how the nervous system is divided up into different sections now. Um, so scientists and doctors and medical researchers have figured out that there's lots of different types of nerves, and nerves go to lots of different places in the body, and that's how we name the different parts of the nervous system. So first of all, we've already learnt the first two sections of the nervous system. Remember that the brain and the spinal cord, they're the central nervous system. And all the other nerves that lead from the brain and the spinal cord out to the body, all through the legs and the arms and the chest and the abdomen here, and out there's a few in the head as well. They're all part of the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral means on the outside or away from. So it's all the nerves outside of the central nervous system. Okay, we're going to zoom in and have a look at what nerves actually look like now, because we've seen pictures of the nervous system like this, with nerves at a basic level, and we've also looked right down at the cellular level, and we've learnt the structure of neurons, nerve cells, but we haven't actually looked at how nerve cells are bundled up to make nerves. So here is an actual nerve, which makes up all the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, particularly the brain, has its own particular structure, and we won't look at that today. But here's the structure of a nerve. So you can see it's made up of tissue holding it all together, and that's connective tissue on the outside. So there's connective tissue there. Then you can see in that connective tissue, there's a whole lot of bundles, and within each bundle, if we look closely at this one here, you can see that's made up of a whole bundle of neuron axons. So that's how neurons make up nerves. In this example, we had a motor neuron. You can see here. So this cell's a motor neuron, and that means that this particular nerve, the cells are sending messages out from the central nervous system down to a particular muscle. So if we look up at the diagram of the person here, then this nerve, all those motor neurons are facing downward. Remember the nerve impulse or the action potential travels from the cell body down the axon in motor neurons. So this particular nerve, the messages are traveling away from the central nervous system, but other nerves are carrying messages from the receptors back up to the central nervous system. And those particular nerves, they'll be made of the other type of neuron which we've learnt about, and they're made up of the sensory neurons, which, remember, they have the cell body in the middle, and then they have a long axon on each end. So nerves can be made up of bundles of motor neurons like we saw here, or they can be made up of bundles of sensory neurons. And that depends which direction it's carrying the messages. Okay, well, doctors and scientists actually give these two types of nerves a particular name. If the nerve is made up of motor neurons carrying messages away from the central nervous system, that's called an afferent nerve. Sorry, I've mixed that one up. It's called an efferent nerve. So carries messages away from the central nervous system. And then nerves that are made up of sensory neurons, they carry messages from the receptors back up to the central nervous system, and they're called afferent nerves. They carry messages to the central nervous system. All right. So that level is the next level of how scientists split up the nervous system. So let's start building a tree chart here. So if we start with just the nervous system overall, we know that that's made up of the central nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system. And then we just talked about then, all those nerves in the peripheral nervous system, they can either be afferent or efferent. And so scientists split that up into two different systems. So all the nerves that are carrying messages away from the central nervous system are called the efferent division of the peripheral nervous system. And all those nerves with the sensory neurons carrying the messages back to the central nervous system, that's called the afferent division of the peripheral nervous system. So we can see our tree chart here. This is how we're starting to divide up the nervous system into different divisions now, based on its function. Okay, well, there's another level again. So within the efferent division, the one carrying messages away and out to the rest of the body, those nerves can either go to effectors that we can control, so voluntary effectors, or they can go to involuntary effectors. And that's the next level of how we separate the nervous system. So down here, a whole lot of nerves go to our skeletal muscles. And these are our normal muscles that make up the majority of our muscular system. They're the ones attached to our bones that we can control voluntarily. And that lets us throw, it lets us wave, smile, walk around, all those things that we can do voluntarily. And so all those nerves going to the skeletal muscles, scientists call that the somatic nervous system. But then on the other hand, some nerves go to organs that we can't control voluntarily. And in that case, scientists have called it the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic basically meaning automatic. So those functions are happening involuntarily. So the efferent division is made up of these two types of nerves. All right. And lastly, the autonomic nervous system is split up again into two types, or into two divisions. So here's the range of organs that nerves in the autonomic nervous system go to. So we've got things like the pupils in the eye, salivary glands, and several other glands around the body too. The lungs, the diaphragm, the heart, the digestive system, and the liver and the pancreas, and a few other glands in the endocrine system too. So really, the endocrine system and the nervous system are linked a lot more closely than we first learnt. So many glands in the endocrine system can actually be controlled by nerves from the nervous system. Okay, well, the way the autonomic nervous system works is that all these organs, they either receive messages based on our body being active and needing energy and being ready for action. So active, energetic, and ready for action. All those kind of impulses, they're received by the sympathetic nervous system. And then on the other hand, a whole lot of processes involved in resting, relaxing, and also digesting our food, they're controlled by the parasympathetic nerves, which we call the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so some of the examples, when nerves in the sympathetic nervous system send a message, well, they do things like they contract the pupils. They also increase saliva production. Sorry, they decrease it. They're doing anything that's making our body ready to be moving around and giving us extra energy. So in terms of our lungs, they are dilating the bronchi and the bronchioles in the lungs so that more oxygen can get into our bloodstream. They're also increasing our breathing rate. Those nerves also increase the heart rate. And overall in the digestive system, they slow digestion because, as you know, after you've eaten a meal, you feel like you don't have much energy. Your body's spending all that energy breaking up and digesting your food. So if you need to be ready for action, the sympathetic nervous system slows down your digestion. And that's why you can get stomach cramps and feel sick if you try and exercise straight after eating, because your body shuts down your digestive system and all that food just sits there and it can give you cramps. So on the other hand, if you're not needing to be ready for action, if you're happy, you're resting and you're relaxed, then the autonomic nervous system sends messages through the parasympathetic nerves, and they involve processes that are going to relax your body. So it dilates the pupils, it increases your saliva production, because you need saliva for digesting and chewing up your food easily. It's going to slow your breathing. It's going to constrict your bronchioles in your lungs because you don't need as much oxygen. Your heart rate slows down, and it will increase the rate of digestion in your digestive system. So all those slowing, relaxing processes are controlled by the parasympathetic nerves. Okay, so that's all the different divisions of the nervous system. You can see that everything's linked together a lot more closely than we first learnt. But this is the basic way that scientists and researchers have divided up the nervous system.